All right, everybody, in this lesson, we are going to make some final changes and get the hero section finished out. So that's going to involve three things in this video. First, we are going to rather, create a divider between this column, and this column. So that means two dividers going down the center. It's not something that we have to do. We could leave it exactly like this. And it would be fine, but I'm just going to choose to do that just to show you, some extra design, and it has a nice sort of aesthetic to it. The second thing we'll do is I do want to adjust the color of this type a little bit, and then also looking at our wireframe, we're going to get this call to action underneath these feature sections designed as well. So let's get started with the first thing, which is the divider. So what we'll do is we'll take the line tool, and we're going to have this divider go from roughly right around here, holding shift, and we'll make it go all the way up. All right, so at this point it's black, so we're really not going to see it, but if it's white, you'll see, all right, that is quite an intense high contrast border. We don't want to do that. What we'll do instead is, I'll show you two things we could do. We could take just the opacity on this, the opacity slider being right here, and drag it way down, something very minimal, like at 10%. And so now we have just kind of a very subtle separator. One thing we could do, however, outside of that, is we could give this a linear gradient. Now notice we have an endpoint right here and another point right here. If we drag this all the way up, or rather, let's get this here, and there we go. We want it to go the whole length of the line, and then we drag these right there, and then we're going to add one in the middle. So the ones on the ends, we want those to be styled the same. They're going to be white with 0 opacity. Take this one, 0 opacity as well, and then this middle one, we can increase it a little bit. So let's just see what it looks like at 50%. Of course, it's white. All right, we could just barely even see that at all, and that's because if we find it again, there it is. We're gonna move that over the keyboard arrow keys. There we go. We have this at 10%. So let's change this to 100%. So now we can see it quite a bit more. Notice how it kind of just fades off pretty nice. I do think it's a little bit too much contrast in the middle section. So let's select it again, and we'll edit the gradient, and we'll take this one down from 49 perhaps to around 25% or so. And it just kind of gives you a nice little separator in the middle. Now, depending on what you want to do, you can position these so that it fades off sooner. And I think I kind of like that look. And maybe we'll push it down just a tad bit. So I'm using my down arrow key on the keyboard. And I like that. So it's very low contrast, so it doesn't matter that it's going behind the type. All right, so we have this centered up or evened up between those two columns pretty well. And then we can push this one over here, just holding shift, and we duplicated it. So I kind of like that aesthetic, and it's something that I'm basically gonna stick with for this design. Okay, so the second order of business is I wanted to reinforce the typographic visual hierarchy with these elements right here. Everything's white, all the text is white, these are white, this is, the text down here is white. So what I wanna do is see if we have an existing color in our styles that might work for this. I don't think we do. Like for instance, if we chose that, that's just too much purple/pink, so I don't like that. Now what we can do instead, if we select all of them, is we can detach that. Now we know we're working within the same primary color hue, and now what we could do is we can adjust the amount of saturation. So hue saturation is 53. We can decrease that right around 33, and I think that works pretty well. Maybe we want to go a little bit more. And then we could also adjust the lightness, maybe to around 80 or so. All right, so I'm going to change this to 15 for that section. Actually, you know what? I might even go even lower, like 10. I think 10, I like that right there. All right, so now it's not 100% white, and it kind of just makes these buttons right here, I hate to use this term, pop more. In other words, they're higher contrast, and it reinforces that visual hierarchy. Okay, so now that we have we're going to leave these here because these are unique elements. We don't really necessarily have to add, I think we will that, yeah, because I think we're going to reuse this type as the basis of our paragraph type for the design system. So we will go ahead and add this as a new color. So we're going to type in primary color. I believe this was at 10. Let me make sure of that. So if I come out here, we go to edit style, and we go to properties. Oh, it's 80. I'm sorry, I was reversing my names here. So if we just change this to 80, there we go. All right, so now this is primary color 80. And of course we can go now here to our color section. And let's extend this down further. We'll duplicate this. And we will specify 80. And we will choose this right here. Now when you get these, when it gets low contrast, we can just make this black. And there we go. Great. All right, so also we want to reference that we create a type style. Notice we already have a headline and sub-headline right here. And then we can also create a section for our other type, for our paragraph that we just created. I do want to style these differently. Maybe I'll just take the background here and push these up. I like that. All right, and then we can also put in maybe just a third column right here for paragraph. All right, and then maybe we'll put just some lorem ipsum right here. So right click and we'll use lorem ipsum plugin. Just auto generate this. Let's increase this frame size here. And then we have to go back to our desktop design, and we're going to add this to a text style. So type paragraph, and we'll create that. Now make sure both of these are using that type paragraph as well. All right, and then we'll go back to typography and make that use that as well. So we'll go ahead and choose to break that and change this to type paragraph as such. All right, great. So now that we have that done, we have the third and final thing for this video to do, which is, if we go to our client brief, or our wireframe rather, our call to action. So for our call to action, the primary thing that we want the visitors to do, the potential users, is to start a campaign. So we already have that in the navigation, but we're going to really reinforce it with a larger button right here. Okay, so what we'll do is we do have an asset already of our buttons. So if I come down to components, we have that right there. So what we'll do is, one thing I want to do is change this from frame to just to primary button. There we go. We can reuse this and then just change the size of the font. I think that's what we'll try to do first to see how that works. So we'll go to our assets, we'll drop this in, and let's change the type as well. Start my campaign, or launch my campaign. You can use whatever you wish. Now let's see if we can go ahead and increase the size of this, maybe to, let's try 26, and then also increase the amount of white space inside of the button as well. I think that works pretty well. And then we can also, instead of just like perhaps centering this like that, we could also add some type to the left of it And maybe we can reuse the type sub headline type for this. Or maybe not, we'll see. And we're gonna say ready to get started. And then we can, let's just detach this for a second. And let's also auto width it. And we wanna make sure that this type is on the same exact, right in the center of the other type. There we go. And do we like that? I think we're gonna make that bold actually. So we'll take this and make this bold. So this is size 28. This is size 26. So I think we'll make this one 26 as well to keep these consistent. All right. And I think that right there is pretty solid. All right, and I like it. So let's go ahead and click play just to see the prototype and see how those the line dividers appear. And I think it looks great still. I did make some adjustments. I noticed that hopefully you did the third column over here with these hovers. I did make some adjustments to these overlays that show up on hover. I kind of made them stand out more. So you could just play around with the settings just to try to get this matched up or however you really wish to do it. And I think this is looking quite solid so far.